I will stand in the way of Tom Homan going after people who don't deserve to be frightened in their communities, who don't deserve to be threatened, terrorized. I would rather that he came and arrested me than do that to the people of my state.
That's Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday at a U.S. House committee hearing testifying about the state's migrant sanctuary policies. Good morning. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and we've got tons of highlights from this hearing where the governor, he joined governors from New York, Kathy Hochul, and Minnesota, Tim Walz, and they were essentially grilled for about 8 hours with all kinds of grandstanding and posturing and even weird diversions away from focusing on the country's immigration issues and the impacts of law enforcement's ability to enforce immigration law in states where there are what's considered migrant sanctuary policies. Illinois has a lawsuit against it. It's facing a federal lawsuit from the U.S. Department of Justice seeking to overturn two particular measures in Illinois that deal with immigration and enforcement and cooperation with federal officials from state and local law enforcement. The Trust Act, which was signed by Governor Bruce Rauner, a Republican, back in 2017, and then a Way Forward Act, which Governor Pritzker signed, both of which essentially deal with saying that state and local law enforcement and their apparatus can't cooperate with federal immigration officials. If it's only a civil detention order, they can cooperate if there's a warrant with a criminal detention order. But the Way Forward Act went further and essentially said that even county sheriffs can't communicate with law enforcement, federal immigration enforcement, if they have somebody in their jail, or they're not allowed anymore in Illinois to use county jail beds for ICE placement, and that's a practice that was used for years and is happening all across the country, but not in Illinois. The arguments are it prohibits the law enforcement from being able to do their job, and the other side of it is that they want these sanctuary policies in place so that migrants who are here, even if undocumented, are comfortable going to law enforcement to report that they are victims of crime. So that's where we're at right now. Of course, after about 4 years of the border being practically open under the Biden administration, you had millions of undocumented immigrants come across the border, some illegally, some claiming asylum, some stuck in that asylum process, some getting temporary protected status. So there's a whole range of different categorizations of the millions of individuals who came across the country, and President Donald Trump obviously doing a deportation process and a lot of protests, including up in Chicago, expecting to see a lot of activity this weekend. So let's get to it. We got tons of clips to get here. Again, this is Illinois in Focus Daily. Let's start off with the chairman of the U.S. House Oversight Committee, James Comer, using a case out of Illinois to highlight the importance of the hearing.
In January of this year, Katie was tragically killed in a car crash near the University of Illinois in Urbana. Urbana, like the state of Illinois, is a sanctuary jurisdiction. Katie's killer was a previously deported criminal illegal alien who was driving drunk. He fled the scene and the jurisdiction and was later apprehended by the U.S. Marshal Service in Texas. Katie was just 20 years old. She had a bright future ahead of her that was stolen from her and her very loving family. The illegal alien who took Katie's life should never have been allowed into our country. This was a preventable crime.
So Comer opening up the hearing with a case out of Illinois. You've heard a lot about other cases like, for instance, Lake and Riley, but this case here in Illinois has really struck close to home. You've got Stephen Lynch, a Democrat from Massachusetts. He opened up for the Democrats in the hearing and really went after the Trump administration.
Trump isn't trying to protect us. He's trying to divide us. It's us and them. He's trying to divide us. And some people are helping him. He's pitting neighbor against neighbor. But it's not immigrant kids who are about to kick millions of Americans off their health care. It's not them. And he's doing that to pay for a tax break for billionaires And it's not immigrants who are using the military to silence Americans exercising their right to speak truth to power.
So you've got Democrats really equating, and even some of his speech, we won't air it here, but talking about Nazism and dictatorships and authoritarian playbooks. You had Democrats, U.S. representatives from Illinois lay that out, including Delia Ramirez. She had some moments where she had her opinions heard during the committee. But Governor Pritzker, during his opening statements, talked about what the state of Illinois is doing.
I have consistently said violent criminals have no place on our streets. And if they are undocumented, I want them out of Illinois and out of our country. And as we are reminded in Los Angeles this week, we can all agree that violence of any kind, whomever it is directed at, is unacceptable. People must be held accountable to the law. Illinois follows the law, but let me be clear, we expect the federal government to follow the law too. We will not participate in abuses of power.
So Pritzker was asked up front by Comer about that case that he mentioned right at the beginning of the hearing of a fatal crash involving a young woman and an illegal immigrant in the country illegally in Urbana.
Governor Pritzker, do you agree that this illegal alien who killed Katie should never have been in the United States in the first place?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me express my condolences to the family, and those are terrible circumstances. Let me also say that anyone who commits a crime in the state of Illinois.
I understand, Governor. Should that criminal have been here in the first place? Did he have a right to be in this country illegally?
If the person is a criminal of any sort, then they ought to be.
So
They
that
ought to
person
be
had a right
arrested,
to
they
be in the
ought to
United
be-
States.
They ought to be given their due process rights, and they ought to be convicted. And
The criminal who
Yes.
entered this country illegally, in your testimony, had a right to be in this country.
no, I'm suggesting to you that when and I have responsibility for the state of Illinois, I can tell you that it's the responsibility of the federal government to manage immigration in this country. And if you're suggesting that the federal government didn't do its job, that is up to you.
And Republicans countered that line several times throughout, that it's really the federal government being blocked by the states from going into jails and
Governor
picking
Pritzker,
up
do you know how much
individuals
illegal immigration
going into
costs?
jail and picking up non-citizens who are there illegally and prohibiting local and state law enforcement from communicating that to federal officials makes it a difficult task for federal officials to enforce immigration law. But then things got kind of interesting. A Texas Republican Congressman, Brandon Gill, started asking questions of the governor about a variety of things. Grants going to certain organizations protesting certain issues, from what's happening between Israel and Gaza to even the issue of bathrooms.
Governor Pritzker, do you know how much illegal immigration costs your state each year?
No, sir, I do not.
Costs over $780 per family per year. That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And may I ask, what do you mean by the cost?
That is a lot of money
The
for
cost
the
of
cost to
illegal
your state.
immigration.
And then the bathroom conversation sparked up seemingly out of
Do you
nowhere.
support abolishing ICE?
Asylum seekers.
Do you support abolishing ICE?
No, I believe we need an immigration force in the United States.
You
In
don't.
fact,
You believe a budget is a moral document. Is that correct?
I do.
You do. You tweeted that. Your administration gave $12,000 to the Organized Communities Against Deportations, which just this past month was marching in the streets of Chicago with signs saying "Abolish ICE." Do you support this?
I do not.
Mr. Governor, do you think that biological men should be able to use women's restrooms?
I'm not sure how this has to do with immigration.
It's
sir.
just a yes or no question.
Why are you
It's very easy to
politicizing
answer.
this?
Do you
I
think
thought
that
we were
men
here
should be using
doing
women's
fact
restrooms?
finding. I'm sorry?
Do you think men should be allowed in women's restrooms?
I'm not sure why this has come to this issue.
You
It has
tweeted
nothing to
that
do
as
with
a
immigration.
protest against President Trump, everyone should use the other gender's bathroom today. Have you ever used the women's restroom?
Not that I can recall ever, sir, no.
You wanted everybody else to do it, but you didn't?
Sir, I'm not sure why we're on a topic that has
I'm
nothing to
asking
do
you,
with
you're
today's hearing.
advocating for men to use women's restrooms, but you didn't do it?
I do not advocate that, no.
Well, actually, you did. You said everyone should use the other gender's bathroom today.
I can tell you that you are
Do you regret
politicizing
saying
this
this?
in a way that what we ought to be focusing on is
Do you
the
regret
failure of the federal
encouraging men to
government
use women's restrooms?
and the Congress to deal with immigration reform.
Do you regret encouraging men to use women's restrooms?
Again, you're taking us on topics that have
Did you ever
nothing to
consider
do
that
with
women don't
the
want you in
subject
their-
that you
in their
invited us here
bathrooms?
for. So you're admitting that this is just a political circus.
No,
Is
I'm
that what you're doing?
asking you
This
because
is
you put
nothing
this
to do
on
with
the
immigration
internet for everybody
and
to
really
see.
about you grandstanding.
I'm asking you, have you ever considered that women don't want you in their bathrooms? That's a private space that they don't want you or any other man in.
Congressman, let's talk about
you
your
can't say that
failure to
normal
vote
people
for
can say that
Medicaid.
they
In
don't-
fact, you want to
that
take
they don't
Medicaid
think
away.
men should be in
and
women's
SNAP
restrooms.
And
That's a
veteran
very
services.
straightforward question.
You apparently want people
And you're
to die
encouraging men to
in the
use
United
women's
States
restrooms
because you
where there
want to
could be
take healthcare
underage
away.
girls. Do you think that's appropriate?
Sir, if we're going to
Do you think that's
politicize
normal?
this, let's talk about what you're doing to people in
you
this
think that
country
that's normal?
by virtue of your votes.
All right,
So
let's move.
interesting to see how these things play out. Obviously, a lot of cameras on these guys, a lot of eyeballs watching yesterday, a lot of attention to it. Some of the other questions that were brought up dealt with, like for instance, asking Tim Waltz about, what's the definition of a woman, asking him about all of his trips to China, and just a variety of different paths that they were going down in different angles. But Congressman Gill did point to one thing in particular that was kind of interesting, and that's the number of tax dollars that are going to certain types of groups. He just named one of them.
Your administration gave a grant to the Muslim Civic Coalition, which just 2 weeks after October 7th was marching in the streets of Chicago to, quote, stop the U.S.-backed genocide against Gaza. Is that a reflection of your values?
I have spent my life fighting anti-Semitism.
No, I'm asking, is this a reflection of your values?
I'm not sure why you're attacking
Because
me
your
about something in an
administration
organization.
gave money to this organization.
I'm explaining to you that what we do in the state of Illinois is stand up for what we believe are
You didn't
our
have to
rights
give
and
money to
freedoms.
the Muslim Civic Coalition.
People
to
have
march
the
and
right to
call,
express themselves.
to stop the
We don't-
U.S.-backed genocide against Gaza. That was your choice.
I know
that was your
Republicans want to
administration.
take away people's right to free speech. We don't in the state of Illinois, and I
They've
do
got
not
the
believe
right to
that
free
is
speech.
proper.
They don't have the right to tax dollars, and you gave
So
them to them.
interesting to hear that one particular group. But if you go to thecentersquare.com, you can see Jim Talamonte's story from yesterday about some of the protests up in Chicago and all the different groups that are involved. One group that had a protest yesterday was the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, and apparently they've accepted millions of Illinois tax dollars. So, is that appropriate to be giving tax dollars to nonprofit groups that ultimately are going to be using those to protest and conduct certain types of activities? Anyways, so Gill asked all those questions, kind of veering all over the place. But of course, the first question he asked Pritzker was what the cost was of non-citizens in the state, and Pritzker didn't give a straight answer. Byron Donalds, Republican from Florida, pointing out it's kind of interesting what he's seen from Illinois leaders.
Governor Pritzker, you do not keep track of any public service dollars in the state of Illinois that goes to illegal immigrants or goes to people in your state who are not legal residents of the United States and of the state of Illinois. You don't keep track of that.
We absolutely keep track of our budget, and we're very closely, and in fact, it's been balanced for 7 years in a row, unlike the Republican before me. Yeah.
I noticed that in the state of Illinois, you guys don't really keep track of your money, because I asked your mayor in Chicago similar question about a month ago, and he didn't have an answer. It was quite interesting. I think this might be an Illinois problem.
So Donald's kind of reflecting back on the previous testimony that Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson had given to this committee about sanctuary policies. Another congressman asking about the lawsuit that the U.S. Department of Justice filed against the state of Illinois, and Governor Pritzker seemingly not aware of the filing in his name.
A lawsuit was filed against you in the state of Illinois, and you responded. Your response to the claim is that Illinois has a, quote, constitutionally protected choice not to assist federal authorities with deportation, close quote. Give me the constitutional reference you're making there. What are you referring to?
Congressman, I don't know the lawsuit that you're referring to, and I don't know that I was the respondent in that lawsuit. I can say that
This is from the response filed on your behalf. So you didn't read the response?
We read the response, and the governor's trying to, at least through his attorneys, trying to say that he shouldn't be party to this lawsuit that the U.S. Department of Justice has. That lawsuit is pending. We'll obviously be tracking that. But the governor was asked by Democrat state U.S. representative, Maxwell Frost, I believe a Democrat from Florida, if he can give a reaction to some Trump administration officials talking about arresting people like Gavin Newsom and so on.
Thank you, Congressman. Let me begin by saying I have the highest duty to protect the people of my state. And indeed, if Tom Homan were to come to try to arrest us, I can say, first of all, that he can try. I can also tell you that I will stand in the way of Tom Homan going after people who don't deserve to be frightened in their communities, who don't deserve to be threatened, terrorized. I would rather that he came and arrested me than do that to the people of my state.
So Pritzker's willing to be arrested in exchange for Homan coming to deport and round people up. Interesting to hear that as well. Then you get this conversation that Congressman John McGuire had, a Republican, asking about census numbers. And then we also get into some conversations about population.
Year after year, tens of thousands of U.S. Citizens are fleeing the state of Illinois. It ranks only behind Governor Hochul's New York and Governor Newsom's California. You all are protecting and harboring illegal aliens for political purposes. Governor Pritzker, would you support prohibiting illegal aliens from being counted in the census, yes or no?
Your numbers are wrong, sir.
Would you, yes or no?
Your numbers are wrong, sir.
Would you
Constitution
support
says how you count
prohibiting
the
illegal
census.
aliens from being counted in the census? Would you? Or
No.
is harboring illegal aliens part of the strategy to get more Democrats in Congress? The bottom line is this: all illegal aliens have committed a crime and should be deported.
So interesting to hear that angle brought into this, and it wasn't necessarily something that they leaned into heavy, but he said it seems to be a strategy of Democrats to have non-citizens in Democrat-run states so that they can boost their census numbers and get more representation in Congress. That's been a theory for some people, others trying to say that that's a racist theory of sorts, but still that's surfacing in a committee hearing in the U.S. House. Interesting. Then the fireworks, obviously, with some more well-known congresspeople. Lauren Boebert going head-to-head with Pritzker yesterday during the House committee hearing.
I find it hard to believe that you're lecturing us
Yes or
about
no?
peaceful protest. Look at what
Yes or
happened
no?
January 6th here at the Capitol.
No, what we're
The
seeing in
attack
LA
on
is
our
an
democracy.
insurrection. You want to talk about
That
an
is an
insurrection? This is an
insurrection.
absolute insurrection.
You don't
They are-
understand what insurrection
I
is
asked
when
you a
people
yes
are
or
trying to
no
overturn
question,
an
sir,
election
and
here
I'm showing,
at the Congress.
I started this off
You were
showing you
here.
the
They were
forum, and I would
attacking you, by
respect
the way.
same. I would expect the same.
I'm answering your question. It is outrageous
it-
that you are asking
is
us
it
these
peaceful
questions when you're the one condoning
to destroy
pardoning of people who attack
private and
police
government property?
right here at our
Governor
Capitol.
Hochul?
So a lot of tension in some spaces, including between Illinois Congresswoman Mary Miller and Governor J.B. Pritzker.
You have stated that Illinois will not allow local police departments to assist ICE as they work to address the illegal immigration crisis that you helped to create. In light of the crimes that I have mentioned, do you stand by your policy of tying the hands of Illinois law enforcement? Yes or no, sir?
You know, Congresswoman Miller, I am
Yes or
not
no,
going to
sir?
be lectured to by somebody
I'm
who extols
reclaiming
the
my
virtue
time.
of
I'm reclaiming
Adolf
my time,
Hitler,
Chairman.
of somebody
In
who has allowed the
2024,
pardoning of January 6th.
I'm reclaiming my time. In 2024, after the presidential election, you stated on MSNBC that, and I quote, "I am going to do everything that I can to protect our undocumented immigrants," end quote. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit a Fox News report into the record titled, "Dem Governor J.B. Pritzker vows to do everything I can to protect our undocumented immigrants.
Congresswoman, I was
These
talking about
policies
the people
are
who have
not
lived in our
only
state for
deadly.
decades
These
now.
policies are not only deadly, but they have cost Illinois taxpayers billions to the tune of $3 billion since 2022. Governor, your state budget doesn't balance without massive yearly tax increases. This year, you hiked taxes by $800 million. Your budgets fund the services of illegal
That's inaccurate,
aliens, while
Congresswoman.
Americans are
Again,
left behind.
inaccurate.
With many
Nearly everything
choosing
is
to flee our
mischaracterized
state.
in your statement.
Governor, I judge you based on your actions, not on your words. And from what I can tell, you are doing everything in your power to roll out the red carpet for illegal aliens to protect them, all at the expense of working people of Illinois. Your policies have been disastrous for our state, and they would be disastrous for our country. And with that, I yield back.
Your failures are a disaster for this country.
A lot of tensions there, and Miller wasn't the only Illinois congressperson there. You had Delia Ramirez, who blasted the Trump administration, calling it, taking the playbook out of the authoritarian playbook, and a lot of criticism of the deportation efforts, a lot of rhetoric on both sides of this. You also had, I believe, Congressman Davis up in Chicago. He shared some remarks. Congressman Rajna Krishnamurthy really praised Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and praised Illinois as having a vibrant economy and an agricultural economy and a diverse economy. And among the largest economies in the world. So a lot of praise was given to Governor from Democrats, but the Republicans, they were making their points as well. Here's Congressman LaHood from yesterday.
Your administration has made the state of Illinois among the national outliers to defy federal law. And you've doubled down on policies like Illinois Way Forward Act, which is legislation you proposed and signed that prohibits local law enforcement from cooperating with ICE, even in cases involving violent criminals. And I think, hearing you today, I think you honestly believe that refusing to turn over convicted felons to federal authorities makes our community safer. And I'll tell you, Governor, it doesn't. And as a former federal and state prosecutor who's worked very closely with law enforcement, none of that makes us safer or makes law enforcement feel comfortable. Instead of working with federal law enforcement to remove dangerous individuals from our streets in Chicago and across Illinois, you're creating bureaucratic roadblocks and political cover. And in my view, that's not leadership, it's government malpractice. Illinois families are already struggling with the highest combined state and local tax burden in the country. And they should not be forced to subsidize over $2.5 billion in Illinois taxpayer money that's been spent on illegal immigrants over the last 4 years under your sanctuary policies in Illinois.
So the criticism, again, being leveled on the governor from the Republicans in Congress. Then you get Governor Pritzker responding a bit after LaHood wraps up some of his comments.
Congressman, I'm glad to see you here. I know you were unwilling to meet with your constituents about the Medicaid cuts that you voted for.
So answer the question. I thought you might not answer the question whether reclaiming I'm going to reclaim my time because you did not answer the question, which I thought you would. When I asked, when you hear about victims that suffer violence because of illegal migrants in a sanctuary city state, you said no, it hasn't caused you to rethink. Reclaiming my time. Now, Governor Pritzker, you mentioned reclaiming my time. I have the time. I have the time.
All the federal government. You all have the ability to fix this.
Governor Pritzker,
do your job. Do your job.
Governor Pritzker, it was mentioned earlier, all these rosy statistics about Illinois, but I want to mention a couple that weren't mentioned. Illinois is the leader in outmigration of people leaving the state of Illinois. We've led, for the last 4 years, 5 years, people want to leave the state of Illinois. We lost a congressional seat, as you're well aware. We have the lowest population in the city of Chicago now than in 100 years. People continue to flee Illinois. We have the 5th highest unemployment rate in the country, the 2nd highest property tax rate in the country, the 5th highest illegal immigration population in the country, with over 500,000 illegal immigrants leaving in Illinois. None of that got mentioned before, but that's the reality. And to be honest with you, Governor Pritzker, I wish you didn't have to be here today as my governor. I really do. But unfortunately, because of your failed policies, you have spotlighted Illinois, and that truly is unfortunate, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back in
Congressman,
our
half
last.
of that is completely false and needs to be corrected, and I will if given the moment to speak. Our population is increasing. We have a higher population as a result of the census that was done in 2020. It was your Republican governor.
Governor, you'll have
You
time to
served in the
answer that.
legislature. You were part of those policies. We are turning the state around.
So the governor being given just a few minutes there to share some of his reaction to LaHood's comments about the population and the census numbers. Then, just to give the governor what he was, ultimately there to talk about. He was wanting to bring about comprehensive immigration reform. And here's just a final little comment from the governor there.
I don't understand why at about 50-50, this Congress is about 50-50 between the two parties. Isn't it about time that you got together and got comprehensive immigration reform done? We've seen it over the last 40 years, attempts along the way. It always fails. Every time it's because of Republican members walking away from the table.
So that's a little bit of a roundup of all of the moments that Governor J.B. Pritzker was involved, at least when it comes to the contentious back and forth between Republicans in the U.S. Congress of the U.S. House Oversight Committee. Oh boy, I took like a 9-hour hearing and condensed it down to about 25 minutes. It's not bad, I guess. It's a lot of work, though. It's something you'll get here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning. A lively bunch in the live chat, so you can join that as well. Looking good on those concurrent viewer numbers, guys. I appreciate that. But obviously, you can catch us each and every weekday morning here live with Illinois in Focus Daily.